Hi, just testing the audio. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I can hear you. Okay, this test is for AV services for the webcast. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Joaquin, I'll wait for your email to confirm. Just testing again to make sure it takes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
Hi, just checking in. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, thanks, Rebecca, and we can see you. David, when you get a chance, can you check yours as well?
Can you hear me?
Yes, and we can see you. Thanks.
Hey, good morning, everyone. It's currently 10 o'clock. Welcome to the Recycled Water Permits Fee Stakeholder Meeting. We'll give it a couple minutes for everyone to join. So we'll get started in just a few minutes. Thank you. Well, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome and thank you for joining the State Water Resources Control Board's Recycled Water Permits Fee Stakeholder Meeting. This meeting is being held virtually through Zoom and webcast platforms and is also being recorded. My name is David Ceccarelli, and I am the Fee and Revenue Branch Chief within the Division of Administrative Services. Presenting today from the Water Board's Fee and Revenue Branch is also Cassandra White, and we also have from the Water Board's Division of Water Quality Water Recycling Program, Laura McClellan and Rebecca Greenwood. Today, we have Fee and Revenue Branch staff working behind the scenes to ensure that this meeting runs as smoothly as possible. If any time throughout this event you find you're having technical difficulties, please email us at feebranch@waterboards.ca.gov. That's FEE branch@waterboards.ca.gov. Individuals attending via Zoom, please use the raise the hand function if you'd like to ask a question or provide a comment. If you're joining us through the webcast, you can also submit a comment or ask a question by emailing the email on the screen, or excuse me, by emailing us at the feebranch@waterboards.ca.gov. Again, we thank you for joining us virtually today. We thank you for your patience as we move to this 100% virtual meeting space. We are doing our best to ensure everyone can participate in an effective way. So let's just go over just a few meeting guidelines. Remember to use the handouts that were sent to you via email. If you do not have the handouts, don't worry. We'll be sharing the documents on the screen. You can also request a copy of documents after the meeting. and the handouts will be posted on the Water Board's fee webpage. Remember, any technical difficulties, please email us. Please mute yourself when you're not speaking. Again, remember, you can submit comments or questions throughout the event by sending them through the email. And then also, when it's your time to speak, please introduce yourself and who you represent. Next slide, please. So today's staff presentation, we'll be going over the fee development timeline, the recycled water permit and fee background, comment summary. We received comments from our last meeting, and staff will be going over those comments that were received. The guiding principles when we set fees, our updated fee options. We'll move into an open discussion, and then we'll discuss next steps as we move forward in this process. Next slide, please. Let's just kind of walk through the fee development timeline. We had our first recycled water permit fee stakeholder meeting on April 18th. And today we're having our second one. On June 13th will be our second water quality fee stakeholder meeting. And this is the overall, all of our water quality programs that we discuss, and we discuss the budget that's based on the May revise that just came out last week. And so we'll be discussing that along with discussions about water recycling. And then on August 1st would be our third and our final water quality fee stakeholder meeting. And this is this meeting will be based on the enacted budget. And then what we're driving to is a board adoption, and staff would be presenting an option for consideration and adoption to our board members at the second September board meeting for fiscal year 24-25 fee schedule proposals. So next slide, please. And at this point, I'm going to move it to Rebecca Greenwood, who's going to discuss the next few slides.
Awesome. Thanks, David. Hi, my name is Rebecca Greenwood. I'm an engineering geologist with the Recycled Water Unit in the Division of Water Quality. Today, since this is our second meeting, I will be just providing a brief overview of recycled water permitting and our fee authority, and then I will go into providing a comment summary. But since this is our second meeting, this is a little bit of an overview, but if we have any new people, this is why we're kind of having these meetings. So the current recycled water permitting has been absorbed by the existing National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System, or NPDES permits, and the Waste Discharge Requirements, or WDR program staff. And with recycled water, it can take up to 25% longer to incorporate water recycling requirements into these permits for non-potable projects, and potentially becomes even larger when incorporating these requirements for potable recycled water projects. Prior to 2023, the water boards lacked express authority for the assessing of fees for individual water recycling requirements, or for the additional time and complexity that it took to integrate these recycled water requirements into a WDR or an NPDES permit directly. So in 2023, there was a trailer bill that was included to provide fee authority for the recycled water permitting. And there was also a successful budget change proposal, or a BCP, where the water board obtained 15 positions for recycled water permitting. Next slide. So with this successful trailer bill, it is allowing us to establish a fee authority for these recycling requirements. The fee authority has been made explicit through a cleanup to Water Code section 13260 and 13523. And this is to ensure that there's adequate oversight and there are resources for the timely permitting of these recycled water projects. So like I said, that's just a quick overview, and we're going to go into kind of our comment summary from our first meeting with that. Thank you for the next slide. Okay, So we received 4 comment letters during our public comment period that ended May 2nd. The letters came from Water Reuse California, Orange County Water District, the Los Angeles County Sanitation District, and the Coachella Valley Water District. We're going to kind of go through these comments in general categories and provide a little bit of staff responses for you guys. So the first comment that we received is that we would be looking at is the spread the fees broadly category. All commenters expressed expressed concern at the magnitude of the proposed fees, and many requested that we continue the fee structure that we had in 23-24 fiscal year. That being that all of the cost of the 15 recycled water positions be shared by all NPDS wastewater and WDR fee payers, and that smaller permit fees or surcharges would be charged for recycled water permits. So for this one, in response, we have revised our proposed fee approach to distinguish between permits for recycled water use versus recycled water distribution and or use. And we will be continuing to explore this option of spreading fees broadly as we are working through these options with our stakeholders. The next category is that we had heard was that design flow is not representative of recycled water production. Several commenters stated that the use of the facility design flow, which is listed in SWRCB, is not an accurate representation of the recycled water produced by the facility. And what was requested that we instead use data from the volumetric annual report of wastewater and recycled water to more accurately represent recycled water production. So in response to this, we have revised the proposed fee structure to categorize recycled water production permits, again, production, by the size based on the volumetric annual report. So those are those self-reported reports that are annually collected in April. Next slide. Our next category was for concern over duplicative fees and a fee-for-service model. Several commenters expressed concern that they were being charged twice or potentially more for a single recycled water project, once being by the Division of Drinking Water for the time to review the recycled water project's Title 22 engineering report, and then again for the proposed fee for the recycled water production permit, and in some cases a third time for the distribution and or use of that recycled water. Commenters also requested that the water boards implement a fee-for-service model for the recycled water permitting in the manner that DDW uses a fee-for-service model in reviewing the Title 22 engineering reports. In response to this, we have again revised the proposed fee approach to distinguish the permits for recycled water production versus recycled water distribution and or use. However, Division of Drinking Water's workload and review and approval of Title 22 engineering reports is separate, and it is going to be different and distinct from the regional board workload to permit the recycled water projects. So while a single project may be assessed fees for both DDW and from the regional board for the recycled water permitting, it's unavoidable due to the separate workload. And furthermore, fee-for-service model is not possible for recycled water permit fees. And then finally, the last category is inequities proposed in the fee structure. Commenters expressed concern about the categorization of potable versus non-potable projects. Again, the use of the SWRCB design flow to determine the size of the recycled water project, and then the size categories that we had placed on the options for design flow. So in response, staff has revised the proposed fee structure that we'll talk about in a little bit. And the recycled water production permits would be categorized on size based on the volumetric annual report. And then recycled water distribution and or use permits would pay a de minimis fee of $2,000 for an annual fee. And then we additionally proposed different size categories to include a greater number of size tiers for stakeholder consideration. So we went from three tiers to 4 or 5, and some of these for these size volumes based off the volumetric annual report. And with that, I'll pause here to see if there are any questions from the email inbox or the platform, and then I will pass it back to the fees unit to talk about the options as we go through with these new proposed ones that I just described. Okay, looks like no questions from the email inbox, so David, go ahead.
All right, next slide, please. So just again, an overview and a review of kind of what we did last time. And this is part of our guiding principles for all of our waste discharge permit program fees. We're revenue neutral, meaning we know we have to collect a certain amount to help support our employees. And you know, if we do a decrease on one group, it basically just means that there's a potential of doing an increase on another group. We're not a fee for service model. We do our best to try to look at the workload though, and where staff time is spending their time is where we try to set the fees. So we're generating the revenue to cover the cost. We try to implement this statewide. So, you know, we have all the regional boards and that, and everyone throughout the state would be able to, of course, look at this fee structure and be able to, you know, implement it in their processes and report on it, and being able to figure out how it's calculated and determining their fees. So again, a statewide fee structure. We don't have, you know, certain structures for different parts of the state or per regional board. Again, a statewide structure. And then indirect and redirected costs are added to direct program expenditures. I know I kind of mentioned this last time, but you know, we have through the state budgeting process, there are, of course, the direct program costs for the employees, but there's also what we refer to as indirect and redirected costs. For example, things like the rents and utilities, and we refer to as a term pro rata with the state of California, which basically means that all agencies have to pay for other agencies that help support their program activities. For example, like Department of Finance, they manage the budgets through the process. State controllers, just other agencies that help support water boards and or other you know, agencies throughout the state of California. So it's a kind of a line item in the budget, and you know, that's also part of one of the redirected costs. And then we do our best to try to minimize the yearly swings in the fees. We, you know, again, we try, you know, we've been directed by our board members that they don't like to see, you know, large swings in fees. We want some predictability in the fees for our stakeholders and the fee payers, so they kind of understand, you know, what their fee is going to be. And so, again, part of this process to try to, you know, hopefully figure it out the first time and kind of work through the process. I also want to, you know, everyone to understand that the water board has emergency fee regulation authority where if we do need to make adjustments to the fee structures, you know, we open up the stakeholder meeting again, and we have that opportunity to take it to our board on an annual basis. If we do need to make tweaks in the fee structure, where we have the ability to do that, but we're also open to it and you know, work with the stakeholders on that. Next slide, please. And again, I kind of went over this last time, just as kind of an overview again. This is the proposed program expenditures. This was authorized in by the legislator through a budget change proposal from last year's budget process. We're authorized 15 positions. We have a breakdown here where the regional board positions would go. There's also, I won't get into the staff workload. We discussed that, but there's bullet points there on the workload itself. We're our average cost per staff is about $225,000. Again, that's direct and indirect costs. And so to fund the 15 full positions, we're looking about $3.3 million. So that's our targeted revenue amount that we are trying to collect. Before I move forward, I'll ask if there's any questions. And there does look like there's a question from Rosario Cortez. Can we have an option F to return to last year's practice and continue to fund the new regional board PYs via existing WDRs and MPDS fees, which include water producers? And Rosario is from the water reuse. Well, we'll be looking at the different options here in a moment, and we can kind of further discuss this question as we get into the options. So next slide, please.
Okay, thank you. Good morning. I'll be presenting the fee options to you, but before I do that, I just kind of wanted to give a little quick overview of the methodology, how the fee options were developed. So as we just saw on the previous slide, we looked at the targeted revenue amount of 3.3 million, and we identified permits that would be affected, which is about 260. And the primary parameter used for these fee options is volume, acre foot per year of recycled water produced. And that volume is based on a 3-year reported average. And that data comes from the volumetric annual report. And there are 2 main options, and each broken down by volume tiers. And then also for permits for distribution or use, there will be a flat fee, and the amount will be the same in each option. And there are approximately 120 that fall into this category. And in the second fee option, which is E, there'll be an additional secondary parameter used, which is type of recycled water produced, either potable or non-potable, still by volume. And for those with the current permit, whether it be a WDR or NPDS wastewater, the fee will be applied as a surcharge. And for those producing recycled water without a permit, the fee will be applied as a standalone fee. And as David just talked about a little bit, we looked at as we do with all of our fee options, we look at workload, and that is a consideration when developing new fee structures. So we're going to go through all of the fee options. So we'll go through all of them, and then you can ask questions at the end. So the first option is D1. This is fee by volume and distribution use. And the first table, it is for recycled water produced up to or over 10,000. So the first tier is the top tier, the largest one, 40,000. And then the second tier up to 10,000 is 20,000. And then from 1,000 to 5,000 is 15,000. And less than 1,000 is 7,000. And then the distribution and or use, that flat fee is $2,000. Next slide. And then option D2. This is the same, except the volume is increased to go up to 30,000. So the first one, over 30,000 is $80,000 would be the fee. 10,000 to 30,000 would be $30,000. 5,000 to 10,000 is $20,000. And 1,000 or less than 1,000 to 5,000 is $14,000. And again, the flat fee remains the same. Next option, And then option E1, fee by volume and type and distribution use. So this is the same as option D, but this is where I mentioned that second layer has been added into, while also looking at volume, we've added in recycled water type, either potable or non-potable. So for the first tier, greater than 10,000, for potable, the fee would be $78,000, non-potable, $38,000. Between 5,000 and 10,000, potables, 24,000, non-potable, 18,000. And then from 1,000 to 5,000, potable is 18,000, non-potable is 15,000. And then less than 1,000, for potable, it's 10,000, or non-potable is 7,000. And again, the distribution and use remains the same at $2,000. Next slide. And then for option E2, same as above, but it's just added an extra tier and it's greater than 30,000. So for the first tier for potable, it would be $75,000. Non-potable, the fee would be $65,000. 10,000 to 30,000, $51,000. Non-potable fee is $26,000. 5,000 to 10,000, it would be $28,000. Potable, non-potable would be $20,000. And then 1,000 to 5,000, potable fee is $20,000, non-potable fee $16,000, and less than 1,000 for potable is $10,000, and $7,000 for non-potable. And flat fee remains the same. And then we will go to the next slide. So I've prepared some examples just to demonstrate the impact of the highest and the lowest permit by each option. So this is option D, and the highest permit currently is option D1. It's over 10,000 acre feet per year. And we can see the proposed fee, applying the proposed fee, it would be $944,107 would be the new fee. And this is one where I mentioned that if it's an existing WDR or MPDS wastewater, it's applied as a surcharge. So in this case, the $40,000 is a surcharge applied to the existing fee, and that's how we come to the fiscal year 24-25 fee. And the same for option D2, over 30,000, we'd be applying $80,000, and the proposed fiscal year 24-25 fee would be $984,107. Next slide. And then option E, this is based on the adding in the second layer of potable and non-potable. So for discharger B, option E1, over 10,000, the fee would be $78,000 applied to their existing fee for a total of $723,876,000 for the proposed fiscal year 24-25 fee. Option E2, over 30,000 for potable, the $75,000 is the fee, and the total would be $720,876. Discharger C, this is for non-potable. E1, over 10,000. The non-potable fee is $38,000 applied to the existing current year fee. The total would be $942,107. Option E2, over 30,000, non-potable fee would be $65,000 applied to the existing fee. Their total proposed fiscal year 24-25 fee would be $969,107. Next slide. And then option D, discharger D, option D1, less than $1,000. The current fee is $1,873. The proposed fee would be $7,000. The proposed fiscal year 24-25 fee would be $8,873. And for option D2, it would be the same. It does not change either option. Next slide. And then option E, this again is looking at volume as well as potable or non-potable. Option E1, less than 1,000 acre-foot per year. $10,000 is the fee applied, and the total amount for fiscal year 24-25 fee would be $40,000. And then option E2, it's the same, remains the same amount. And then discharger F, option E1, the same as the previous slide, where less than $1,000 acre foot per year, the non-potable fee would be $7,000 for a total of $8,873. And that's the same also for E2. And that it's just a little example to kind of see the effect of the proposed surcharge and standalone fee. And also, I just wanted to mention, there in some of the tiers currently, there are no existing permits. And I will give it back to you, David.
Okay. Can we go back to, I think it was D2. I believe that's either slide 10 or 11. Maybe it's slide 10. I'm sorry. Okay. The slide I was looking for is the one that did not have the less than 1,000 on. I just wanted to mention that. Yes. So I do want to mention that if you look at the tier here, we do not have on this tier less than 1,000 that we need to add on onto this chart here. Cassandra, are you aware what the fee amount was going to be on that we're proposing? And if not, we'll.
It's 7,000.
7,000. Okay.
Yes.
And we'll definitely modify this slide. But I just wanted to make sure everyone was aware of that. If you're, of course, less than 1,000, that our proposal is the fee was going to be $7,000. Before I move forward with questions, one announcement. It looks like that the raise the hand function is not working. So if you have any, if you'd like to ask a question, please go ahead and unmute yourself and go on camera, and then we can go ahead and take your questions. We'll monitor who's coming on camera and unmuting himself, and we'll take them in order. We did have, again, one email question from Rosario Cortez from Water Reuse. And it was basically, can we add an option F to return to last year's practices and continue to fund the new regional board PYs via existing WDRs and the MPDS fee payers, which would include recycled water producers. And program staff, please chime in. We can look at that. Right now, we are kind of, as we kind of mentioned, one of the comments is that internally we are working with our executive management on a policy if it's moving forward that, you know, we should be charging all MPDS and WDR fee payers this fee. So we are looking into that, and we'll have some direction here soon on that. And so as we kind of go through that process internally, it is definitely something that we could explore and we can add an additional option as option F. So it looks like first up, Sharon, if you want to unmute yourself, and please introduce and who you represent, and you'll be first online here.
Okay, thank you. I'm Sharon Green with the Los Angeles County Sanitation Districts. We had a question just to clarify how the new options were being determined or calculated in terms of like which fields in the volumetric reporting are being used. Is it the sum of the discharge and reuse, or just the reuse field that's being used for that? Thank you.
Good morning, Sharon. It's just the reuse field. So we went ahead and we took the sum of the reuse for the year, and then we took all 3 years for the reporting thing, and then just did an average. And we should be able to have some of those spreadsheets available as we're talking to our exec with some of these things to be able to share with you guys at that point. And this is just another good point for us to emphasize here that these are self-reported numbers. So if you guys have numbers that are not quite correct, we can always talk about correcting reports to make sure that we get it right, and making sure that we can get you in the correct tier for some of these reuse volumes.
Good morning, Rosario. You're next in the queue, so good morning.
Good morning, David. Can you hear me okay?
We can, thank you.
Awesome. No, well, and just on our apologies, just given that the new options are available late Monday, I haven't had enough time to get feedback from my membership, but I did want to express our gratitude that the addition of implementing some of the things that we requested, like the additional categories for volumetric bins, that is just really appreciated. And I know that Laura and Rebecca are already going to be able to provide us an updated spreadsheet. So again, just really appreciate the responsiveness. And we're also looking forward to engaging with you in June. But I also, I wondered, do we have the information to do a recycled water discharge volume-based fee this year? Or would that delay the fee if you went with option D's or E? That's just what a timing question we had.
I think I could partially answer this. We do have the volumes from the last, what we did with this provided option was from the last 3 years. So this goes from 2020 to 2022 for the volumetric annual report. So we would be able to implement this off of that average from what we're doing here. And we did an average just to make sure that we were kind of capturing everybody's reuse in a kind of more even keel mannered, in case you had increases or decreases over the last couple of years, and just provide a solid base. But yeah, if we were to do this option, we would just do it solely based off the VAR, which would require some updates from GeoTracker to CBICS to be able to implement this fee. But it would be based off of just the volumetric annual report for now.
Oh, and thank you, David, that we could have an option F, because I just think for the sake of a robust discussion, we just want to at least have that opportunity. So again, thank you so much.
Thank you. And just one announcement, the raise the hand function is now working. So we just recognize that. Let's see, Claire Johnson, you are up next. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, David. Claire Johnson, I'm with Orange County Water District. I have a question to start, and then I have a comment as well. So my question is just about for agencies who do both potable and non-potable reuse reuse, under those options that distinguish between the two categories, how would that factor into their fees? How would that work?
Since we don't collect, well, I mean, I guess we could kind of do this, but we don't really separate out the potable versus non-potable in the sense of the volumes when we did the sums for the 3-year average. That would require a little bit more separation, but if your permit is identified as a potable reuse project, that's just kind of how we flagged it. And I know that you guys had some comments about which permits were flagged for those potable ones last time. And we kind of talked about that plus or minus 10, 11, 12 number. But it would just be in this proposed option is that if you were flagged at that potable permit, you would be flagged at that higher one because you were provided a permit that already has that potable component included into the permit. So that's kind of what we were basing that charge off of, not like a percentage of potable versus non-potable recycled water volume. So it's just like straight, do you have potable water or do you have non-potable water?
Okay, great. Thank you. And then my comment is just kind of mirroring what some other folks have already said. We definitely strongly advocate for the state to consider continuing to spread the fees more broadly to fund the BCP via the existing waste discharge requirement and MPDS wastewater permit fees. And the reason we're advocating for that is because, we think there's a statewide interest in enhancing wastewater recycling, and that's our understanding of the governor's water supply strategy. And when one agency recycles, it frees up potable water supplies and water supplies more generally for other regions in the state. So we just think it, sets a bad precedent to discourage or penalize recycling projects in a specific manner, like these fees kind of seem to do. So that's the comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire.
I'm not seeing any more questions at this time and/or I don't see any, do we have any email questions coming in? Okay, and no email questions. So we'll move to the next slide here. Again, which is open discussion. So if anyone would like to bring up any, further questions, whether it's not just about the options or anything related to the fees themselves, please, we can open it up right now. So be happy to open up the questions and/or if program staff at this point you want to add anything.
I just wanted to thank everybody for their comment letters from the previous options, and again are looking forward to continuing to work with you guys through these things and are hearing your comments and trying to work through and make sure we're going on the best path forward. So if you again have any questions about the volumes or any of the ways that the recycled water permits are identified, please reach out and have a conversation with us and program staff. We would love to talk about it.
We do have a question and Rebecca, I think you could probably answer this one about Bill Dixon from the Sonoma County Water Agency. How often will the 3-year average for distributions use be updated?
Yeah, so I think that's something we could kind of talk about and play in the options as we continue to move forward. We were just kind of thinking about doing it on a rolling basis. So as I had mentioned, this goes from 2020 to 2022. So with our updated reports coming in April 30th with our regular deadlines and us kind of like trying to pin the data down, usually by the end of summer, we would be able to provide these numbers to the fees unit for them to be able to update the average prior to adopting fees or changing fees. So we could do this we can do this rolling average kind of thing. So 3 years as we can continue to move forward. But if that's something that people would like to comment on, or if they would like a set time, that we can do something different, we're all ears. But at this point, kind of a rolling average from the last few years.
Okay, there's another question. We'll have Sarah Fong go ahead and read it. It came in through the email.
Okay, this is from Garen, and I apologize if I pronounced your last name incorrectly, Vartanian. On July 9th, 2020, the State Water Resources Control Board ordered POTWs to submit PFAS concentration levels at their wastewater treatment plants. The rationale was that publicly owned treatment works, POTWs, are potentially significant receivers of per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, PFAS, and have the potential to discharge these wastes to the environment. With the discovery of PFAS in the sewer effluent and recycled water, water distributors are now contemplating what additional measures to take to not spread PFAS that's within the sewer effluent recycled, resulting in contamination of the soil where the irrigation occurs, as well as groundwater aquifers underneath. How is PFAS affecting the recycling program?
Hi, this is Laura. I can take a crack at this, and then if others want to chime in, feel free. Morning. So this is a really complex and large question, and I think, Garen, we can follow up with you separately by email after this meeting. There's a lot of different treatment trains that exist for recycled water programs around the state, and also a lot of different uses that recycled water is put to. And so we have PFAS characterized differently in different types of recycled water systems. So I think we have a partial answer to that question, but there's a lot of information that is emerging through the investigative orders that have been evaluating quantities of PFAS in wastewater, and we'll continue to update our knowledge and understanding of it as we move forward and as we continue to get data on that. So I'm glad for your email and glad for your question, and I'll follow up.
Give it a moment here as we're monitoring the emails coming in. See if there's an additional email. Okay, no emails at this time, and I don't see anyone else in the queue to ask any questions. So we'll move to the next slide. So looking at our next steps, we are asking for feedback based on these new options, these updated options that were presented today by June 13th. And the comments could please provide those to the email feedbranch@waterboards.ca.gov. Give opportunity for staff to go ahead and review them. And then also on the June 13th, we have our fee stakeholder meeting for overall for water quality. So we'll be, of course, discussing a little more on the water recycling at that time. Also, we may not have time, of course, to go over all the comments we received because we're kind of up to that date. So those are kind of next steps moving forward. Of course, we're trying to drive to the second board meeting in September to take a proposal for consideration and adoption to our board. And I think many of you guys are familiar with the process, of course. 10 days prior to that board meeting, the agenda and the staff report will come out, which would have opportunities for comments and so forth. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out there. I know that's kind of, down the line, but just wanted to put that out there. Sharon, you have your hand up.
Yeah, just to, maybe this is reiterating something, but I was just wondering if I could ask, because I might have missed this, when staff think that the spreadsheets that have kind of these updated options might be able to be shared with stakeholders, because I think that's going to be key for us to all be able to look at to really understand how the different options work in practice, or, obviously they're probably considered draft, but at least would give us a better idea. So just wanted to ask what the timing is thought to be. Thank you.
This is Laura. I can respond. Yeah, so we will be able to provide that to you guys within the week. We just need to make sure that that it's publicly shareable and includes all the right information.
Thank you, Laura. Okay, so I don't see any more questions at this time. Again, I want to thank everyone for participating. As mentioned earlier, we want to thank you for your comments that you provided us. We can't continue this process without your assistance, so we appreciate it. We appreciate your feedback. I know many of these options, were just submitted earlier this week, so please take an opportunity to kind of review them. And again, if you have any questions or anything like that in the process, please email us. Be happy to discuss that. And then we, of course, look forward to your comments. So we appreciate that. Want to thank program staff participating in today's meeting. Thank you, Cassandra and Sarah, behind the scenes working on responding to the questions and kind of keeping us online with everything in throughout this meeting. So let me just move it to program staff if they have anything they want to add before we sign off here.
Nothing for me, just appreciate everyone's engagement on this, and feel free to reach out to any of us with questions, or the fee branch as well. And yeah, thank you for the dialogue.
All right, thank you. Well, that concludes our meeting today.
David,
I'm
I
sorry.
just wanted to mention
Yes.
that the meeting recording and the presentation will be available within a week.
Okay, thank you. And then Rebecca, I saw you come on. Did you want to add anything?
Nope, was just going to reiterate what Sandra said, and it'll be on the fee payers webpage, where the handouts were located. So those will all be up there within a week.
All right, thank you. Everyone have a great rest of their day, and we'll be talking soon. Thank you.
Thank you.